What is up, cheeseheads? Welcome back to another episode of BAM GPG. So, Bryson, Jeff Hafley, he is officially gone from the Green Bay Packers. He accepted the head coaching position for the Miami Dolphins and that rebuild that they're likely to have down there. So, once again, the Packers, we're in the market for a defensive coordinator again, right? We moved on from Joe Barry to Jeff Hafley. We're lucky to have him for a couple of years there in Green Bay. But if there's one thing we've learned, Bryson, from that transition from Joe Barry to Jeff Hafley, is that this Green Bay's defense, when they were struggling under those Joe Barry days, it wasn't because of a lack of talent, right? There's plenty of talent on that defensive side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers, minus some corners. They certainly got to address the cornerback position and add a little beef up front. But overall, there's not a lack of talent on that Green Bay defense. So one thing we learned is that, scheme matters. Defensive coordinators, they matter. And you saw that with Jeff Hafley, a major upgrade over what we had with Joe Barry. No doubt about that. So today, Bryson, what we did, we brought, there's some names swirling out there. We got it. We've seen it. So we took some notes on some of the potential candidates. Some of them have interviewed, one scheduled the interview, but we'll break those down, Bryson, let you know who exactly has been interviewed for the Packers, who we expect to be interviewed, and, kind of break down some of the guys that haven't been rumored to be interviewed yet, but, could be a fan favorite as far as being in contention here.
And real quick, I just want to mention Packers fans. Yes, we released Trayvon Diggs, but don't worry about it. We're just trying to save cap room. We're not trying to.
Yeah, don't look too far into it. It's, certainly something that we could revisit once the season comes to a completion after the Super Bowl there.
Like everybody's been freaking out about it.
I agree. Yeah, they've been freaking out. So,
trying to save cap.
100%. That's all. It's a cap move hit. His current contract was it was too much for Green Bay to carry on. Right. Especially for his level of production. I think he's, I think he would be willing to take a more team friendly team friendly contract. Maybe it's an incentive based prove it type of contract for the Green Bay Packers, especially to stay with his friend Micah Parsons. So absolutely. So Bryson, back to the defensive coordinators here. So let's start with a name that, all Packer fans or most Packer fans that have been around long enough are familiar with, and that's Al Harris. So Al Harris, he's rumored to have already been interviewed by the Green Bay Packers. And this one, absolutely should feel personal for the Green Bay Packers. Strength wise, this is an easy one here for the Packers, Bryson. He's an elite defensive back coach currently with the Chicago Bears, and corners, they absolutely love him. Players respect him. He's been there. He's done that. He brings that aggressive mindset to the defense, press coverage, confidence, swagger, all of that, all the things that, defenses have that are missing at times, right? He brings that to the table for you. And let's be real. He understands Green Bay. He's been in Green Bay. He's played in Green Bay. He understands the expectations of Titletown and the pressure, the standard, all of that. So here's the one concern I have here that we have here with Al Harris, right? Al Harris has never ran an entire NFL defense, right? Coaching corners and calling defense on, 3rd and 8 with the season on the line. They're two completely different things. And he just doesn't have that experience yet, right? Neither did Hafley when we brought Hafley up too. So you can make that argument. But we certainly don't know how he's going to handle those in-game adjustments when he is the one in control, the run fits, the protection, protecting the linebackers with those behind inconsistent pass rush. How are you going to do that? What's your scheme look like? If you hire Al Harris, you're betting on upside with him, right? Big upside, but it's still absolutely a gamble for the Green Bay Packers.
And I think, corners is our biggest position, and he's good with corners, so.
Absolutely. It is our biggest need on defense is that we have to improve that cornerback play. No doubt about it.
So, I think he'd be a good fit because he's good with corners.
Absolutely.
And That's our biggest need on defense.
Absolutely. And then Bryson, the next candidate we have up here is Christian Parker. He's expected to get an interview with the Green Bay Packers. His name's been kind of rumored out there for a while now. This is, kind of one of those modern football hires for the Green Bay Packers if they were to pursue him, right? Parker, he comes from an Eagles defensive system, which is all about, if you've watched the Eagles, they're all about disguise, split safeties, confusing quarterbacks, adjusting week to week, right? This defense that doesn't just it's not a defense that just lines up and reacts, right? His strength, it's clearly the secondary with Parker, right? And again, something Green Bay needs. And defensive backs under him, they tend to play a lot faster, more disciplined, smarter. Again, all things that our defense needs right now, and that would be huge, especially for Green Bay's young corners. We don't know what that room's going to look like going into next year, but you talk about cornerbacks like Carrington Valentine, possibly Keyshawn Nixon. I would like to move on from him though. Now, the downside to him though, fans, is, again, it's going to be the experience, right? He hasn't been an NFL defensive coordinator just yet. So he hasn't had to run an entire operation, command a full defensive staff by himself in this league yet. And like Al Harris, Bryson, questions, they remain about his defensive front seven control, right? Great in the pass game, the secondary, but we've yet to see anything from the defensive front side from him.
Well, yeah, you've yet to see anything, but I think he'd be a good candidate because, we really need DBs. Well, except for our safeties, but
Yeah.
other than our safeties, we really need DBs. And it doesn't matter about the other things. As long as his defensive coordinator is good with DBs, I'm good with him.
Yeah, we certainly need that help. So, and absolutely, this would be a forward, kind of thinking type of a hire for the Green Bay Packers, but certainly comes with some risk, right? Next guy on the list here, Bryson, Daronte Jones. So let's talk about Jones here for a minute, Bryson.
Yeah.
Jones, this is an interesting one, right? Because he's a little more balanced than the first two candidates that we mentioned there. He's an actual defensive coordinator. He has some experience at the collegiate level with LSU, right? But he's been around strong defensive staff units in the NFL, right? His strength for him, it's versatility, no doubt about it. He's coached defensive backs, right? He's coached linebackers. He understands blitz concepts. And Bryson, he's not afraid to manufacture pressure when the front four just aren't getting home. And we saw that in a number of times for the Green Bay, especially once Micah Parsons went down. We really struggled to get pressure on the quarterback late in the season this year. Now, the concern with him, Bryson, it's going to be consistency, right? His time at the collegiate level as the defensive coordinator, it was uneven despite having elite talent at the collegiate level with LSU. And while he's been around, a lot of great NFL defenses, he hasn't been a full-time NFL defensive play caller yet. So this one, it would feel like the safer hire for the Green Bay Packers, but may not be the sexiest one for the fans, right?
But I feel like he'd be one of the best candidates because he's actually run a defense in college. So
Yeah, he's been the man in charge.
Yeah.
So he has that direct experience. So
and if you have that experience, I feel like it's one of the best hires. I still like the other two guys we talked about before. They're still good, but I feel like this one has been the best so far since he's actually had defensive coaching experience
yeah,
as a defensive coordinator.
absolutely right. And experience is invaluable, especially in this league. So 100% agree, Bryson. Now, the next guy, this is one Packer fans, they've been buzzing about. It's Jim Leonhard, right? Leonhard, he's kind of the football brain of the group, right? He's his preparation, his communication, disguise, his situational defense. That's his calling card, right? And Green Bay Packers, Wisconsinites, they're familiar with that. His defenses, they're disciplined. We've seen that. They tackle and they don't bust coverage, right? And third down, red zone, situational football. This is where, Leonhard really shines on the defensive side of the ball. But this risk, it's obvious here, Bryson, right? He's never been an NFL defensive coordinator. Jumping from college to the NFL isn't necessarily automatic, especially when you're talking about managing, grown professionals, defensive staff on your own, Eagles contracts, expectations, etc. He does have some experience, with NFL defenses, just not as a NFL defensive coordinator specifically. So if this works, it could be special for the Green Bay Packers. If it doesn't, it's a learning curve that could go very, very roughly for Green Bay.
Well, I think this one is a really risky one, but he's got the smartest mind, and he's had experience with NFL defenses. I can't speak.
Defenses, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
can't
he's
speak
currently with
today.
the Broncos right now.
But yeah, I feel like he'd be one of the best candidates as well because he's the smartest out of all of them
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
far.
And then the last guy here, Bryson, on our list is Jonathan Gannon. Now let's talk about him for a minute. He has been rumored, but hasn't been confirmed. He has some LaFleur ties there. Gannon, he has a resume to him. He's been an NFL defensive coordinator in this league. He's been a head coach, albeit hasn't been the greatest there with the Cardinals. But he's coordinated playoff defenses, right? And that there's something to speak to that. And he knows how to run an entire operation as a defensive coordinator in this league. His defenses, they're great at disguise and structure. Quarterbacks struggle pre-snap to make pre-snap adjustments against his looks, which is always a bonus, right? If you can confuse the quarterback, that's usually a win for the defense. But here's the issue with him, Bryson. His defensive, they can be a little bit passive at times. Blitz, he's a little reluctant to blitz at times, struggles against the run, which in the NFC North in January, February, late December football, that's not something you want to be struggling against.
Yeah.
And frankly, as we mentioned, his time in Arizona may has hurt his, reputation a little bit, right? But albeit that is as head coach, not as defensive coordinator, you know, out of all the hires, this would probably be the safest hire, but probably not the most aggressive or exciting hire for the Green Bay
You know what?
Packers.
I actually think that's one of the more risky hires because I feel like I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about him. I do not know why.
Yeah, he kind of, just kind of one of those safe hires. It kind of reminds you of maybe like a Joe Barry type of hire where it's safe, nothing sexy about it, doesn't really bring a whole lot extra to the table, but certainly a safe one, right? Just kind of a plug and fill type of coach there, which
Yeah.
I would tend to shy away from that. We'll see what LaFleur does, but here's how I see it, Bryson. If Matt LaFleur wants safety and experience, things like that, he's going to go with Jonathan Gannon or, Daronte Jones, right? They make sense if that's what he's looking for. Now, if he wants upside, if he wants energy, if he wants, a culture shift, Al Harris or Jim Leonhard, they're going to be the swings you need as the defensive coordinator. If he wants kind of that more modern NFL built, defense built around disguise, adaptability, Christian Parker might be the smartest schematic fit for the Green Bay Packers, as far as all the candidates go. But here's the key: whoever Green Bay gets, right? Whoever gets the job, they have to do these three things for the Green Bay Packers. They have to be able to stop the run. As we mentioned, it's going to be key to make a late playoff, push next season. They have to be able to develop young players. We know Green Bay is a very, very young roster, so that is key. And they have to be able to make in-game adjustments when things start to kind of go sideways, right?
Mhm.
So if Green Bay, if they can get the right guy there, keep him there for a few years. I know we only got a couple out of Hafley there. We're in good shape. If we don't, we're having the same exact conversation next January. Let's hope we're not here, Bryson. But we will see. And folks, we will be back with more in the offseason. We're in the offseason. So we'll be back with some more. And as always, Bryson,
Let's go back. Go.